The first time I saw her smile, it didn't feel like just another smile. It felt like the kind that could heal something broken inside you. I didn't know why I noticed her that way. She was my mom's friend after all. But there was something about her eyes that day, warm, tired, and a little lost, that made me want to say something kind, so I did. I looked straight at her and said, "You look beautiful." And what she said back left me absolutely speechless. Hey, before we dive deeper into this story, if you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Every story we share here is a whisper meant to touch your heart and remind you of the quiet beauty in human connection. It started on a rainy Friday afternoon. My mother had invited a few of her old college friends over for tea. The house smelled of cardamom and rain-soaked earth. I had just returned from my university classes, tired but content, the kind of mood where you just want to sit by the window and watch the world drizzle away. When I walked into the living room, I saw her, Aunt Maya, as my mother called her. I'd met her once or twice before, but this time she looked different. Her hair, once full and dark, now had streaks of silver. Her eyes seemed quieter, the kind of quiet that comes after too many battles lost and too few won. She smiled at me when I entered. A polite smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Hi, sweetheart," she said softly. "You've grown so much since I last saw you." I smiled back, but something in her tone caught my attention. Something faintly hollow, like someone trying to sound okay when they aren't. As I poured tea for her and my mother's other friends, I noticed how she kept fiddling with the ring on her finger, twisting it, removing it, putting it back on again. It was almost an unconscious act, but her hand trembled slightly each time. After a while, when the laughter and chatter filled the room, she excused herself and went out to the balcony alone. I don't know why, but I followed. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe it was something else. She was standing there, looking out at the rain, her eyes distant. For a moment, I saw something raw in her expression. Grief. "You okay, Aunt Maya?" I asked gently. She turned, startled. "Oh, yes, I'm fine, sweetheart." Then she smiled again, that same polite, empty smile. I hesitated before saying it. I don't even know where the words came from, but I said, "You look really beautiful today." For a second, she froze. Her eyes filled with tears so quickly it startled me. She looked away, covering her mouth as if to stop herself from breaking down. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "Thank you," she whispered. "No one's told me that in a very long time. I didn't know what to say. I thought maybe I'd said something wrong," but she turned back toward me with tears streaming down her face and a small, trembling smile. "You know," she said quietly, "when someone's been told for years that she's not enough, she starts to believe it. And then one day, a stranger, or someone kind, says something as simple as, 'You were beautiful,' and it feels like being seen for the first time in years. I didn't know what to do except listen. She told me that her husband had left her a few months ago for someone younger, that she had stopped looking in mirrors because every time she did, she saw someone aging, tired, unworthy. That her friends told her to move on, but she couldn't because she didn't even know who she was anymore. I used to think beauty was what kept people around," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I realized it's not beauty they leave. It's the person who stops believing they matter." I remember just standing there, the rain tapping against the glass, the sound of laughter fading from the living room behind us. And in that small moment, I realized how heavy silence can feel when someone's been holding it for too long. Days turned into weeks after that, but something shifted. She started visiting more often, helping my mom cook, bringing small gifts, staying for dinner. Slowly, I saw the color come back to her face. The laughter returned to her voice. She began dressing differently. Small things at first, a brighter scarf, earrings she hadn't worn in years, lipstick that wasn't just beige. My mother noticed too. "She seems lighter these days," she said one evening. "Yeah," I replied. "I think she just needed someone to remind her she still shines." Then one day, a few months later, I was walking home when I saw her standing in front of a small art gallery downtown. She was laughing, really laughing, with a man around her age. When she saw me, she waved. There was something radiant about her, something free. Later that evening, she called. "I wanted to thank you," she said. "Not for the compliment, but for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. You reminded me that beauty isn't lost with age. It fades only when we stop believing we're worthy of being loved." Her words stayed with me for a long time. Maybe because they weren't just about her, they were about all of us. How easily we forget our worth when life chips away at it. How sometimes it takes the smallest act of kindness to bring it back. Hey, before the story ends, if this touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. It helps us keep sharing stories that remind people that love, empathy, and words still matter. Years later, I saw her again. She was hosting her first art exhibition, her name, Maya Khan, written in bold letters on the banner. The paintings were breathtaking, portraits of women with weathered faces, soft eyes, and unspoken stories. She told me each one represented a chapter of her healing. When I hugged her that night, she whispered in my ear, "Do you remember what you said to me that day?" I smiled, "That you looked beautiful." She nodded. And because of that, I started believing it. Again. Tears filled my eyes as I looked at her, alive, confident, shining, and I realized something powerful. Sometimes a single kind word isn't just a compliment, it's a key that can unlock someone's brokenness and remind them how to breathe again. So if you ever feel a moment to say something kind, say it. You never know whose heart it might heal or whose life it might change.